They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But while you are there to help your baby grow into the person he or she is meant to be, who is there to help you? Many women feel lost and alone when they become mothers, wondering, who am I now? Sometimes it feels like the transformation from woman to mother is as radical as a caterpillar's transformation into a butterfly. Did you know that inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar literally turns into goop before it rearranges itself into a butterfly? This podcast is about the goop, what soul transformation looks like as you transition from being a woman to a mom. Your baby's growth matters, but yours does too. You're not alone. I'm your host, Brittany Ming. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. I'm your host, Brittany Ming, and today we're talking to Kimberly Yavorski. Kimberly is a freelance writer with bylines in a variety of publications, including The Hill, Vox Media, Reader's Digest, Next Avenue, and has been a regular contributor to several parenting publications, most recently Parenting Teens and Tweens. She shares her thoughts on parenting older kids on her Facebook page, Life on the Other Side, Parenting Teens and Beyond, and is currently working on a book by the same title. She recently became a grandma and quickly realized this is much more than a new hat. The birth of this baby not only created new family roles, but also made her think about motherhood in a new way. So welcome, Kimberly. I'm so happy to have you on today.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is very exciting.
Yes. So we are actually going to be talking about the transition of becoming a grandmother. So I was wondering if you could first tell us about your older kids, how old they are, and then the special experience of becoming a grandmother.
Hey, my children span a wide range. So they're, oh man, you put me on the spot. I knew I should write this down beforehand because I always struggle with this one. Um, 35, 32, 29, and 27 are
Okay.
my kids' age.
So you have a 20s and 30s range.
Yes.
And which one of your children recently had a child this year?
This was my oldest. And it's actually was kind of amazing that the baby that made me a mama was also the mama that made me a grandma. Um, and it was just an amazing experience. It's something, I mean, I had children young, my mom had children young, and my children have decided to wait, which is a perfectly legitimate choice. Um, but a lot of people have kind of asked, "Are you ready to be a grandma?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm ready when they're ready." You know, just kind of, I mean, I was never one to kind of push this thought, but I didn't really think much about what it is to be a grandma. And I went with my daughter to one of her prenatal appointments, and I heard that heartbeat and I saw that ultrasound and I was instantly in love. I mean, it brought back memories of me having my own kids. But everything's different. I mean, each generation, things change, the rules change, the pregnancies are different, what you're allowed to eat, what you're not allowed to eat, what you're allowed to do. It all changes. Um, and I struggled with that while she was pregnant, even, getting with the times that, it's like, what, I bit my tongue. What do you mean you can't eat this or that? And what do you mean you can't do this? I mean, I did all these things and you guys are all fine. And I've discovered that being a grandma, a lot of it is going to be biting my tongue with the things that, the way things change, the different rules, the different ways of doing things. And that's normal. And though we will kind of slip in sometimes the things that, the old-fashioned ways are the good ways to do things sometimes too. Um, but then back to this baby, it was just amazing watching my daughter grow. And I'm not just saying in the way of just physically growing, just also we we're very close. We've always been very close. So talking, discussing pregnancy, discussing impending motherhood, discussing how things are different now than when she was growing up. It's the wishes, the hopes, the dreams. And then baby decided to come early, which none of us were ready for. My husband and I were actually at the theater, and um, my phone started vibrating in my purse, and I checked. Unfortunately, it was like during the curtain call. I checked my phone, and my kids are fiercely protective of my time. If they know I'm out date night or something like that, they won't call. So when I saw that it was her, it was like, oh my God, something happened. So she was telling me, she was in labor and not quite, it wasn't really late at night, but it was an evening, as babies are tend to do. And my kids came fast. My longest active labor was 6 hours. So I kind of went to bed that night. It's like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to be a grandma. And I'm all excited. Well, in the morning, baby still hadn't arrived. So then I just kind of sat and sat and sat and sat and sat. Then I said to my husband, we have to go to the hospital. It's just, and I didn't need to see her. I just needed to be close. So I sat in the waiting room for several hours. And then I started feeling kind of silly. It's like, do I really need to be here? But I needed to be there for me. And while I'm sitting there, I thought one of my kids was a C-section. And my mom asked me beforehand, do you want me to come to the hospital? I'm like, oh, no, 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 you don't need to be there. I'll be fine. What I didn't realize is that she needed to be at the hospital. And that's one thing that I would definitely recommend expectant grandmas to do is if you need to be close to your child, ask them if you can be there. Don't say, do you need me there? Because they're two different very things. Because I didn't need my mom there. Had I known she wanted to be there, I would have said, absolutely, come. Um, and then, like I said, I was starting to feel silly. So I said, to my husband, it's like, okay, maybe we should go. So I stood up, put my coat on, and I got a text. And it was just a picture of a baby.
Oh.
So I start crying. Gave my husband, oh God.
It brings it all back, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. Gave him a big hug. And then I was good to go. We went home. I knew my daughter was exhausted. She'd been through a very difficult many hours. So it was time to go home and I had shopping to do because, baby didn't have newborn clothes. So I went home, I went shopping, I got clothes, I got ready. And then when we went back later to visit baby, um, I walked in, my son-in-law was holding the baby, and my husband and I both oohed and awed. And for me, yes, I was excited to see the baby, but I know I have the rest of my life to love on this baby. I needed to see my baby.
Mm.
So my husband, sat down, was handed the baby, and I was there checking on mine, make sure she was good. And she was good. She was exhausted. She was happy. But she was good. And that's all I needed. I just needed to know that she was okay. And actually to just backtrack a minute too. After I got that text, I replied to the text that my son-in-law sent. I would love to talk to her when she's feeling up to it. And my daughter's intuitive, so she knew. It was not too long she called me. I needed to hear her voice. I needed to know that yes, that she was good. I'm such a mess.
This is a transformative moment for you and for her. Like, yes, tears are welcome to it.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it was not at all what I expected. I mean, I didn't expect to feel like a new person.
Mhm.
And then it's a new role, and I thought I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't anticipate the emotional exhaustion that went with this. It's not my baby. I'm not the one that's going to be up all night. I'm not the one who's going to have all these responsibilities and the pressures and everything like that. It was, but it was magical too. I mean, it's something. There's certain things in life you really can't understand until you've been through it, and I really think for me this is one of them that. And I understand my own mother more. It's one of those things like I kind of see my own mother's viewpoints, and then this baby too. I mean, it didn't just make me a grandma; it made my husband a grandfather. It made my parents and my mother-in-law great grandparents. It made my other kids aunts and uncles. It's just, all of a sudden, we all have new roles. We are all, we have new responsibilities, and it's just amazing. You don't really think about everything that a new baby brings into the world.
Can you tell
No,
us more about how you felt like a new person? Like, what did that feel like for you? What felt new as you were stepping into this new role?
it's tough to explain, because it's different from parenting. As a parent, you have a lot of pressures. You have the stress of you have to provide for this child, you have to support this child, you have to worry about their physical being, their mental well-being. And as a grandparent, some people like, will say that they like it because you get to play with babies and give them back. And I don't really look at it that way. It's providing more emotional support, I think. That's what I kind of looked at. And my son-in-law had only a couple weeks paternity leave. And obviously is really no new mom should be made to care for a baby on her own after only 2 weeks. And I had deliberately decided a couple months before the baby was born that I was going to back off on my professional, obligations, that I was going to, carry a light workload, which as a freelance writer, I can do this. that, and just in case she needed me. And I figure if she didn't need me, I could pick up work, not a problem. So I was available. I had the time to spend with her to help her with that, to go, whatever she needed to do. If she needed me to hold the baby, if she needed me to do the dishes, the laundry, I was there for whatever. And what I found I did a lot of is her and I, sat on the couch, and, whether she was holding the baby, I was holding the baby, we talked. We talked about being a mother. We talked about the gross unfairness in this country, what they call maternal leave, that, no mom should be forced to go back to work, after just a few weeks of having a baby. We talked about taking care of babies. We talked about worrying about not messing your kids up. I reassured her that, the kids are pretty resilient. I mean, I made tons of mistakes, and I've got terrific kids. I mean, you don't have to worry about every little mistake. Um, we talked about how every baby is different. I talked about her when she was a baby. I talked about her siblings when they were babies. All these little stories, some she had heard before, some she hadn't. So I think that's really what I didn't expect about being a grandmother, is how much talk therapy there is in it, about how much supporting your kids without giving too much advice. It's more, and reassuring them they're doing right. And there was one conversation we're having, and she looks at me, she's like, "Oh, so we just make it up as we go along?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much. That's what motherhood is. I mean, if baby isn't sleeping, you try this. If baby's not eating right, you try this. And if that doesn't work, you try that. And once you think you have it all figured out, baby decides to change all the rules and you start all over again." And those are the sorts of things that aren't in the book. So we don't know, as new moms, that most of the time we're right. And that's one thing. I was very fortunate when my kids were little. Our doctor told me that I was doing a good job, and that mama knows best. That, whatever I think is right for the baby, most of the time I'm going to be right. And, anytime I had questions, he followed my lead and trusted a mother's intuition. And I think that that's something, moms need that kind of support. And I think young moms too need to know that they're doing a good job. And
Yeah.
I think we don't tell them that enough. And that was kind of hit home. I mean, I was actually my audiologist for a checkup, and she asked me, because she knew I had big life events coming in. She asked me how things were going, and I started talking. I said, "Yeah, my daughter's an awesome mom," and she just stopped and stared at me, and she said, "Wow, I hope my mom says that about me." And thinking, why don't more moms say that about their daughters? I mean, we've got lots of awesome moms out there, and they need to know this. And I think, and I remember too, as a young mom, you're stressed, you're insecure, you're isolated, you're lonely, and you need to hear it. You need to know that you're important too. I mean, and, everyone comes to see the baby, but, mom's the one that did all the work. I mean, my mom used to joke that my birthday, that she should get the presents because she did all the work. And you don't think about that till you're a mom. It's just,
Yeah, I think it's so important that you said that your role was to be this like storyteller and emotional support to your daughter, and that the couch sitting was the work. That was like the building her up, the reassuring her that she was doing a good job, the sharing your own experience so she has something to stand on. Because I think so much in young motherhood, you're just like, I have no foundation. This is all new. I don't have anything to look back on and be like, okay, I've done this before. No, everything is brand new. And so I think standing on the stories of our mothers or our sisters or our grandmothers, that can give us a foundation for something that just feels foundationless without that first child, or even any subsequent child, because every time you have a baby, you go through that transition again, this like remaking of yourself, because this child is new and you are new, or you've never been a mom to two before, or you've never had a toddler and a newborn before, or you've never had a child with colic before, or whatever the new thing is. It feels new. Even if you have some experience to back it up, it's still brand new. And we need that support from other women. And I think especially from our moms. And not every woman has that. And so it's so special to hear that you were that for your daughter. And I think even if a woman listening didn't have that experience, they can know that, like, okay, like there's this collective womanhood that is supporting other women in motherhood. And I think we can tap into that sometimes and be like, there is support out there. And maybe I can be that one day for my own daughter if I didn't have it for myself.
I do think it's important also that when you did touch on it, that even when you do have that foundation with the first one, when the second one comes, all the rules go out the window because when I had my second, I'm like, oh, I'm experienced now. I know what I'm doing. And oh, no, 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 the rules all changed. I mean, I had a second child who was very different from the first, and was learning all over again. And it's trusting your instincts and knowing that yes, you're going to make mistakes, but your baby's not going to break. It's or things are going to be fine.
Yeah. So you touched earlier when your daughter was pregnant, you were talking about your pregnancy experience and how things are different now and how you've had to bite your tongue. Can you talk a little bit more about the struggles you went through in transitioning to being both the mom to a mom and also like being a grandma? What are some struggles and also some strengths that you found through this transition?
Well, the struggles were, like I said, biting my tongue. I mean, most of them surround food. When I was pregnant with her, basically I was told to limit caffeine and alcohol. They were the only restrictions. And then by the time my fourth was born, since they're almost 10 years apart, there were other restrictions which I promptly ignored because I had three other children already and they were fine, even though I ate things that are forbidden. So there's things that she wasn't allowed to like sushi and lunch meat, which I mean I get the reasons, but is it really going to kill you? Just and then with new babies too. I mean they've changed the feeding schedules with babies now, and with her also, which my mom actually started her on cereal when she watched her for a weekend when she was I think a month or so old, and now they've pushed back the feeding solids to like 6 months. So my kids all got solids, and it started with cereals, and now the rules have all changed, and do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but it's not my choice to make. And if this is what current science and the doctors are saying, um, whether I agree or not really isn't important. I mean, it's up to mom and dad, and what they say needs to be what happens. And I remember too. I mean, I had like the world's best grandma. So I mean, I've got like when it comes to grandmas, my role model. I mean, I've got really big shoes to fill, but she was really big on breaking rules. It's like streets and stuff like that. I mean, it was you know whatever grandma said, whatever mom and dad said didn't really matter. Now, fortunately, I mean, my parents knew that, and rules were kind of relaxed when I was around grandma. And I do kind of think it's a grandparent's prerogative to break some little rules from time to time, but certain things, like it comes to dietary things, I mean, especially when they're little, you really can't. So you have to listen. It's a fine line.
Yeah, I think that there's just something really special about building that grandparent relationship. But we all know stories about people who struggle with, like, the grandparents aren't listening to me, or I don't want them to go to their house because I just feed them X, Y, and Z, or like there are those struggles. And I think that being the grandparent and like you have the experience of being a parent and you have the experience of being like, oh, I know what it feels like to have somebody who's older than me like not listen to me. And I think that giving our
Absolutely.
kids the gift of being like, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be the one who's like, well, my rules go no matter what you say as the parent, to give them the gift of like, I trust that your opinion is what's right for your child. I think that is such a wonderful resource to be, to say, I trust you and I'm going to honor that trust between you and your child, even though I'm a grandparent and I have more parenting experience and I've been on earth longer and like all these things, we can say, okay, I'm gonna trust you that you know what's best for your child.
Absolutely. And I know boundaries are important. I mean, and yes, children can understand that there's different rules in different households. Um, and that's why I'm saying, I mean, I think grandparents have a little bit of leeway, but you can't change all the rules. I mean, you need to adhere to the big ones, and your kids are going to tell you which ones are most important, that they're the non-negotiable ones. I mean, it's similar when I was little. I mean, my mom, when my parents would go out, my mom, she would tell the babysitter such and such was a bedtime, but it was with the knowledge that if it was okay, I could stay up late. I mean, and it really wasn't a problem. So there's certain rules you can kind of stretch. Then you quickly figure those out. But if you want to spend time with your grandparents, I mean, I'm not saying that this is why I do it, but or your grandkids, then you need to follow the rules. I mean,
Right.
because they're the parents, they're the ones that get to make the rules.
Yeah. How has your relationship with your daughter transformed? We think about parenting our adult kids. It looks so different than when they're parenting in our own house. and you're not really parenting her, but like your motherhood relationship, how do you think that's transitioned since she's become a mom?
Like I said, we've always been close. I mean, the teen years got a little dicey, as they do with all kids. But we stayed close even when she was a teenager. And as an adult, we live close by, so we are close. We go shopping together. You know, we talk on the phone, even though we live close enough that we could talk in person. We go for walks together. Um, but we become closer through all this, and it's more a relationship of peers, honestly, at this point. I mean, I will always be mom. Um, and she knows she can come to me with anything. I'm not going to judge her. But you know, and actually I gave up the full-time parenting a long time. I mean, she's an adult, so she makes her own decisions. And if she comes to me asking for advice, I will give advice. Um, I try really hard to not give unsolicited advice. Sometimes I can't help it, but that's me, and that's not because she's my daughter. I would do that with anyone. Yeah, but I mean, we've definitely gotten closer, and when we talk about more things, and thought of her as my friend as well as my daughter for a long time. It's just our friendship has gotten closer.
That's really special. What strengths do you think that you found in yourself since becoming a grandmother? Some new strengths.
I have been able to be the calm in the storm.
Mm.
With babies don't always sleep, and babies sometimes cry uncontrollably, and you don't know why. And there's been times that, I mean, it's just been I've been able to kind of just be a calming presence, to just kind of, be remind that, this is temporary. This is a fleeting thing. I mean, right now in the moment, yes, this seems like it's going to go on forever. This child is never going to sleep. There's always going to be issues, but I do have the perspective of raising four kids, who are all terrific adults right now, that it's not forever. And that, you know, things will come. And it's like I said before, I mean, they keep changing the rules. So yeah, you think you got something figured out, and bang, they're like, nope, mom, this doesn't work anymore. Now you have to try something else. And
Yeah,
so it's been a kind of suggesting, okay, well, did you try this and did you try that? And in a calm manner, and trying to, rather than adding to the noise and the commotion.
I love asking this question at the end because we're kind of wrapping up, but two parts for this one. What would you tell another woman who's about to have her first grandchild? And then, second, what comfort or reassurance could you give a young mom who's about to have her first child?
Well, for a new grandma, listen to your child, listen to what they need. And then to backtrack to what I said early on, if you want to be at the hospital or wherever your child is having birth, ask if you can be there, not if they want you there. And if they say, no, you can't be there, take that with grace. Remember, that's not all about you, that this is a new family bringing a new child into the world. And yes, you're part of their family. You're part of the family, but they're starting their own little family. And it's important that they get bonding time with them and wait for them to invite you in. For a new mom, I'm looking at the perspective with the relationship I have with my kids. I'm close with all my kids. So if that's the case, go to your mom with questions. I mean, don't worry about things on your own. Your mom has been there. She understands a lot of what you've gone through. Maybe she hasn't gone through the same things, but she will probably be able to understand, and answer some of your questions. I do recognize, though, that not all women can go to their mom. So, I mean, I guess, and if that's the case, set your boundaries. It's like, you need to take care of you and your own little family, and that's more important than the outside world.
Yeah, that's good advice. Kind of like stepping into your own authority because now you are the mom. Like
Scary.
sometimes we're like, I need a more grown up than the grown up I already am. But like when you have a child, like, man, that's the level up into grown up, like adulthood, right? Like you're the adultier adult in that situation, even if it doesn't feel like it. So I love both those pieces of advice that if you have the relationship with your mom, like, hey, she's there for you and she wants to be there for you. But if you don't, like, you can find other women in your life that maybe you're not biologically related to you, and those women can maybe be a surrogate mom to you, in that relationship, like in this new mother relationship that can help you along that transition. Because that's so important to have that female support when you're in new motherhood.
Absolutely. We women need to stick together through these times because the men just can't. They're not going to understand. They can't. It's just not physically possible. And it's, I may have to say too, it's very, very surreal thinking about the fact that a child that I carried my grandchild. It just the way that like this circle of life. It's just awesome. I mean, it's impossible to describe.
Right. You said magical earlier. I think that's that's
Yes.
a great word for it. Yeah. So I want to end on one of these fun questions. It's really close to Christmas when we're recording this. I want to know, what is one thing that you're doing to enjoy your life this week?
I am probably this afternoon going to start with my annual treat making. So I will be making some, well, actually probably not today because it's going to rain, but some my star cookies today and peanut brittle tomorrow.
Oh
So
yes, you got to make
it's
peanut
like,
butter on a
yes,
non-rainy day, right? Or else it won't set up.
yes.
Do you give those treats out to your neighbors and friends and family?
Sometimes, I think this time it's going to be, for us to eat, and I'm getting together. Well, the whole family's getting together with my parents and my sister, brother-in-law, and their family after the holidays, so we get to kind of bring snacks to them too. So I think another thing that my nephew has one special treat that I think I'm going to be making for him too.
Oh, nice. That's really fun. I love having like the special Christmas candies. Like you only ever eat them once a year and you're like, yes,
Yeah.
you look forward to it every year. Where can
And I
we
need
find
to make sure I
Oh,
give them to someone because I don't want to eat them all myself.
exactly. Exactly. You're like, I don't need 2 pounds of peanut brittle or more in my house over the next 2 weeks. Where can we find you online?
Online, I've got a Facebook page, Life on the Other Side, Parenting Teens and Beyond. And then I also have two Instagram pages. One is Life on the Other Side, Parenting Teens and Beyond. And then I started right after my grandbaby was born, Adventures in Grandparenting, which I haven't put too much there, but I'm kind of hoping that as inspiration strikes, I will be adding more there. And
I will make sure to share those links in the show notes so people can follow you and check out all of your great writing and resources. Well, Kim, thank you so
thank you.
much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. It's been fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Next, tell your friends. Podcasts are a slow growth type of social media, so promo works best when it's from person to person. If you know another mom who's in the goop right now, send her a text of encouragement and the link to the episode that is speaking to your heart right now. If you have a story about your own matrescence, the physical, emotional, hormonal, and social transition that occurs when someone becomes a mother, please leave a comment below. I want this channel to be a place where women can build community about the challenges and joys of their own motherhood metamorphosis. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it encouraged you and gave you some good food for thought. If you ever have any questions, comments, or you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can email me at brittanyaming@gmail.com.